that is more conscious and more revolutionary than all the rest. So probably in that's very much the case in, for example, VTV, where some workers are still there like 20 years, 25 years. They don't have any interest in social revolution. They don't want to show anything like that. So if they're still the ones deciding about the films that are bought, for example, they won't buy it. So, but if you talk them to the, get through it, talk to the director, it's a bit repeating the same thing that happens with Chavez. So with many things you have to get through to Chavez, because others are still, have been politicians in the 80s already. They've got their, like, they're used to a certain way of doing politics, and they are not really interested in changing, you know. So the same thing happens there. But I think it's, you know, it's definitely growing, and with all conflicts, etc. But and it always goes like, it's no linear development. No, history never is linear. That's some crazy idea. I don't know how we got there, but it's interesting because indigenous people don't have a linear concept of history. But it's not indigenous. If you read, for example, by Mark Bloch, considered one of the fathers of history in history, he says, what would you think of a physician telling you, or an astronomer telling you, that the sun has no influence on the Earth because it's far away and it's the moon, then it's much more important. So he compares that to history and says it's not about how far away something in history is. Something that happened 200 years ago can have more influence today than something that happened 10 years ago. And so nothing is linear in history. And the same thing happens with how you have a push, and then it's like a thing where these community councils are, everybody's talking about that, there is a new law that is discussed, and everybody's focusing on it, and then you don't hear anything for a year or two. It also depends what is interesting outside Venezuela and what not, what do you get, what information. But I think they're definitely going on, getting stronger, getting more self-confidence, having more conflicts with the institutions, but now struggling to take over more and more things.
I have a question. I believe we're changing the way we're educating kids, because I mean everybody here is interested about this, and it's the same way down there. But I want to know how much, from your standpoint, how much you saw that we are educating kids in the school about the importance of comunas and have a healthy life with your community, from kindergarten, I believe. So I don't know if you saw anything, if you went to the schools and see how much they're teaching them about the comunas and the importance of your community.
Still very little. In the schools, it's not very much. It's the kids are learning in the neighborhood, I think. So, for example, in Emiliano Hernandez, in that neighborhood, in the first one, it's about 5 years I know them and work with them. It's interesting because the kids see what is happening, and then, for example, Alexander was the black guy with dreadlocks at the phone company meeting. He moved away from there, but he was a very beloved person by all the people and by the kids especially. The kids organized a demonstration against that he was moving away in the neighborhood. They organized another demonstration in favor of putting a basketball court. Or when there were elections, the kids asked to also have some elections. So the general presidency for the general elections. So the people from the Consejo Comunal organized a ballot box and some elections so that the kids could vote. So they learn from what they see, this participation. But in the schools, it's other things that I think have changed. So I had the chance to be there on the 12th of October once. That's supposed to be the discovery of the Americas. Americas were already there, but okay. In Venezuela, it was changed. Is now the Day of Indigenous Resistance, and you have that very strong in the schools. For example, on the 12th of October, and they talk already like 1 or 2 weeks before. All the kids, what grade ever, prepare something about indigenous resistance, about colonization, about slavery, if they're from black neighborhoods or whatever, but something that has to do with their history from their view, a different history than the one told before. So I think on some things there are changes. With the community councils, I haven't seen that much in schools, but it might be that also teachers involved in community councils tell also their kids. Maybe I just know about school kids or kids in school where the teachers are not part of community councils. But I know also that some community councils go to schools, especially to high schools, and talk to these kids in high school about the community councils to get them involved. Because younger people they have different types of participation. They're not participating that much in the community councils. It's much more, for example, in all the media stuff.